like the body's all.
Yeah.
So, are we starting? Waiting for anyone? All right. Ezrat Hashem. Interesting. I think it's on. I think so. Right? Is it?
Yeah, it's on.
It's on. So there's a story. Mr. Yonah Emanuel, he's a Holocaust survivor. He says they were in the concentration camp of Bergen-Belsen. As you know, Bergen-Belsen was a concentration. You know, yesterday, 27th, like everyone knows, 27th of January was the day of the liberation of Auschwitz. So a lot of interesting stories I heard yesterday. But this is Bergen-Belsen, and that was the concentration camp for people that were from outside Nazi territory, occupation, and it was a little bit more relaxed, but still it was a rough, very rough camp. And so he says he was a child in the camp, and one time on Tisha B'Av, they just didn't give them any food. They didn't give the whole camp was punished, which wasn't usually done, and they just didn't get any food. So his mother, she made something which was really mostly water, and she made it for his little sister, and she was caught. She had a 3-year-old sister, and she was caught by the Jews. You know, they had Jews that were couples, they were police, and and they said they're gonna have a court, and so what would happen usually would be that they made the Jews judge Jews. That's how it worked, and they made the court date on Friday night, and the Germans would have a lot of pleasure watching them. Watching Jews doing this as Jews. So it was the Friday night after, it was a Shabbat Nacham, after Tisha B'Av. And so the prosecutor came, a Jew. Everybody was a Jew in this thing. And they brought her, and they started talking. The prosecutor talked, and they brought the witnesses who witnessed the crime of her making this sort of soup for his little sister. And she was given the right to speak, to say, why she did what she did. She completely kept quiet. She didn't say anything. She didn't ask for a lawyer. She didn't do anything whatsoever. And then they said, okay, we're going to think about it. And, they came out that for 2 days, she will not get any food. And that was it. And then she. So that was the end. So he asked his mother, how come you didn't say anything? Say, look, I did it for my little sister, for my little daughter. You could have said something to make it less. And she didn't answer. He kept pressing, he saw that she was shaking. She was the whole thing, really shook her up. But he says, ask her again. She says, don't you realize they were all Jews? And the person that's writing down is a Jew. Everybody's a Jew. I would much rather not eat than make them write on Shabbat. Don't you get it? This is why, everybody was a Jew. The judge and the clerk and everything. Make them write on Shabbat. I'd rather not eat for another 2 days and be Mechal Shabbat. That was his fond childhood memories that he had. All right, let's talk about our dear Shabbat, beautiful dear Shabbat. I thought, just to be clear, I wanted to go over, also that we're being recorded finally, I wanted to go over a little bit towards the end of Melachav Koreya, just to be clear. So we talked about Tofer, right, and Koreya. Koreya was tearing that which was either sewn or just a plain something, paper or parchment or whatever it is, to tear it apart. And we said that if it's done for a purpose, for a constructive purpose, i.e., the melacha of Koreya would be you tear something in order to sew it back together, then it's asur from the Torah. But if it's kilkul, if you're just tearing it up, just thing, then it's asur midrabanan. Then it's mutar to tear something apart for kilkul. However, when it comes to food or different packages that you just want to open up, like so you have you need styrofoam cups, and you need to open the package, or you have tissues in a bag, and you want to open it up. These sort of things, you're allowed to rip it up and open it and to take what you want out. We also said that, let's say on the top of the wine bottle, person wants to open up the wine bottle. That's also the plastic. He wants to tear it. You could do it. It's not an issue. And we said ripping a string is not considered Koreya, right? If a string is coming out of a person's suit, like he just bought it and he sees a string, that he is not allowed to take off because that would be completing the suit. But if there's a tag on the suit, like a price tag and stuff, that he could certainly cut it, and it wouldn't be a problem. That was just to wrap up the end of the melacha of Koreya, and then we started the melacha of tzad, which is trapping. Right, trapping, hunting, and we said that the melacha of tzad is got two conditions. One, it has to be something that is usually trapped, right? Something that's usually trapped, meaning like you run after a deer, you run after a bear. I don't know what else do they trap. Birds, right? What's that? Mouse? No, a mouse you don't trap it for. We're gonna get to a mouse. It's asur derabanan, of course, right? But over here, that's number one, and number two is that it's something that you could, when you trap it somewhere, now you could easily grab it. Now you could easily get that thing. In the Mishkan, they would trap animals. For the purpose of using their skin for the coverings in the Mishkan. Now, if a person traps an animal, a bird, fish, there's a machloket really. Most poskim say that it is tzad, it is trapping. Some say it's kotzer. Some say fish would be harvesting because you are disconnecting it from a place of its growth. But most opinions of poskim is that it's also trapping. One who does it, meaning now he places it in a place that is trapped. That is asur from shabat. That is asur for the melacha of tzad. But if it's an animal that's not usually trapped, like flies or mosquitoes or these sort of insects, who traps these things? Then it is not asur from the Torah, but it's asur midrabanan. It's still asur. Someone wants to be playful. He sees a fly on the table. He goes he takes the cup and just as it gets stuck under the cup, it's a problem. It's a problem because this is tzad. Because now it's certainly easily just grabs it. You could grab it from in the cup if he's quick enough. But that's what it is. Now, we discussed a bee, right? What's the story with a bee? A bee is a little different. You know what? I'm going to jump to a different halacha first. It's important for us to know this halacha. This halacha is brought. Masechet Shabbat says, one who sees a snake, right, or one of these deadly animals, or it could be a wild dog, a dog that has rabies, he sees this thing running around, and even if he's not running after him, he just sees him. What's the halacha? You could kill it. On Shabbat, you could kill this because we're dealing with a sakana. There is a danger of life. You could go ahead and kill it on Shabbat, even if it's not chasing you. Now, if it's a snake, it's not a poisonous snake. for some reason you're an expert in snakes and you know that this snake is not poisonous. I don't want to find out, you know what I'm saying? But let's say you know for some reason that this is not poisonous, then it depends. If it's going on its own thing, not doing anything, it could sting a person, but it's not deadly. Doesn't even make a person sick, but it's very, very, very painful. There's a difference. We have to categorize it. There's sakana, there is danger. Then there is painful. Then it's discomfort. Like, i.e., poisonous snake, non-poisonous snake, maybe slash a bee, right? And a mosquito. Mosquito bite is rather uncomfortable, but it's not damaging. It's not like, certainly not deadly usually. So these cases, so then it depends. If it's a deadly snake, we said you could kill it, even if it's not chasing after you. If it's a not deadly snake, then if it's chasing after you, you could kill it, right? If it's not chasing after you, you can kill it. It's asur to kill it, but you could trap it. Okay, you could trap this thing in that case. But this is only if you know that it's not dangerous. It's not a poisonous snake. Okay, now if there is like a bug that bites a person, and is around him. So that goes in the category, it depends what kind of a bug it is. If it's a bee, and he doesn't know what the story with these bees, bees usually is a lot more than a mosquito. If it bites, this thing could hurt. So in that case, he could certainly trap the bee. He's very scared of the bee. The bee is going to do something. You could go ahead and trap it. You put a cup over it, something that it can't escape. Or if you see it going into you have a soda bottle, empty, not empty, it doesn't matter, and you would much rather lose $1.49 of the soda than be stung by the bee. So the bee goes in there, you could go ahead and put the cap on it, and you have trapped it. This is zeda, but you're talking about a bee. A bee, most people would be scared of. So you can go ahead and do that.
So won't the bee drown? And then
You're not drowning it. That if it drowns on its own, it could keep up, it could stay up, right? Shalom. It could stay up, right? You're not drowning it. That's fine. In that case.
Question,
Yes.
what if you're around a bee, or like someone who actually is allergic to bee stings, like it could kill them?
Kill it.
It could be killed.
Yes, that becomes sakana. Certainly, people that were allergic, chas v'shalom, everything gets inflamed, and they could stop breathing, chas v'shalom, and it's certainly a sakana, and you could definitely kill it. It becomes like that poisonous snake, and it should be killed, right? Now, remember, let's say someone is brave enough and he sees one of these things, he wants to pick it up. This is tzad. This is, although it's not asur from the Torah, but it's tzad. This is trapping. This is hunting. This is the actual melacha. When you take it. So if a person sees one of these buggers, one of these insects that's on him, that's he's scared that it's going to bite him, you can't pick it up and throw it aside. What you could do is you could move your sleeve or blow on it so it'll fall off. That the person certainly could do. But, right? Even if it's like a mosquito, it's going to stink, right? Then you could certainly do that. But to pick it up, put it aside, person shouldn't do that. But if he did it, his intention is certainly not to trap it. He just wants to get rid of it. He is fine. We won't punish him in that case. Now, so with this being said, let's say a person sees a bee. It's like a wasp or a bee near a baby, right? That could be dangerous, right? What do we do in that case? What is a person to do in that case? I wrote this somewhere. I'm trying to figure out where I wrote it. You could go ahead, definitely kill that. You could kill that wasp in that case, because that becomes like the case. First of all, we don't know if the baby is allergic, and you don't want to find out. Right? You could kill the wasp if you see it near the baby on shabat. So that's as far as the thing. Now, if there is a, I'm going on the bugs more in this thing because that's one of the most relevant halachot when we're dealing with the malacha of tzad. But let's say there is a mosquito around the person, flying around the person. So he can't just trap it like this within his hand or with a cup and stuff like that because this thing doesn't go to any of these categories of dangerous or non-poisonous snake or a bee. This is something that even if it'll sting a person, it's just a discomfort, right? In that case, you could at most either blow on it or move it kelachar yad. And if he's on his hand and he's scared, oh, it's about to bite, it's about to sting me, he could go ahead and just with his hand even to cast it aside without shinui. He could go ahead and do it. Try not to kill it. If it died, no, zichrono livracha. What are you gonna do? Now, we're just gonna bring a little bit more examples of the halachot of tzad. I'm not saying that you guys own chicken or ox and sheep, but it's good to know the halachot as far as the halachot of shabat is concerned. Person has chicken and chicken coops, right? And they're out, roaming around the chicken. You are allowed to push the chicken into their coop, right? You're allowed to push him. Although even though it's a small confined area, and you might think that it's tzad, because these are home pets, home animals. They're not. The melacha of tzad is not about them. Melacha of tzad is an animal that'll run away. You have to chase after it. You have to hunt it down. That's where it is. These things are homey. Where are they gonna go? They're here. You're not really hunting them down. Or you're doing is just pushing. Ashkenazim are more machmir on this. But I remember people do have chicken around here. And they had a question. Oh yeah, I don't want my chicken to be outside in the backyard overnight. It's cold. It's this. It's that. Cats could get to it. Certainly, over here in this case, for his own protection, a person could go ahead and push it. Guide it into the chicken coop and close it up for its own safety and for the safety of those around them. But let's say. So what do Ashkenazim do? They will confine it in a wider area, in a bigger area, not in the chicken coop, which is small and confined, which is certainly tzad, if it would be the melacha of tzad. So they will put it in a yard or in a room, where it cannot be easily caught. The idea is that if you want to save yourself from the melacha of tzad, then you could just confine it in a big area, like in a big yard, where you can't easily catch it, then it goes down a level and it would be allowed. Let's say you don't want you have an expensive animal, you don't want it to get stolen or it to damage things or get damaged, and for its own protection, you could go ahead and do this. Us Sephardim, we could definitely guide it into a chicken coop. A cow, sheep, goat, and this sort of stuff. Now, a cat, Ben Ish Chai writes, a cat is considered not a friendly pet. I guess back in Baghdad, all these cats would be roaming the streets. They didn't like to stay home. I think these days most cats are so lazy; they're always home. I haven't seen cats go around. So it might be different nowadays, but Ben Ish Chai writes that the cat is one of those animals that the melacha of tzad would be applicable to. But these other things, the melacha is not applicable because you don't catch them. These things don't move. You go after a cow, oh yeah, I caught you now. There's no such a thing. These things, so therefore, they're considered what the Chazal called nitzodim. They're already as if they have been caught and captured, and therefore the melacha is not applicable. However, if the halacha says im maradu means they were nuts. They are like being rebellious, and they're running around. Now you have to go out and catch them. In that case, it is asur to catch them, right?
Can you touch any of these animals?
Touching an animal is muktzeh. That's a separate thing. We're going to get to it. So therefore, you could touch it kelachar yad, meaning like not in a direct manner, but a person wants to a person wants to pet a dog. Can one do that on Shabbat?
Apparently not.
He could, but if your petting is not going to make it move, but if it's going to make it move, muktzeh you could touch. You can't move muktzeh. So, and they usually move. Like, when you do it, it's usually moving. It's like, why would you want to pet a dog? I don't know, but that's it. So back to the thing, if you have to get to use methods to catch this animal, then in that case, it would become or set up a trap to catch this animal. This is tzad. This becomes the melacha of hunting down this animal, and it is asur. Now, the next halacha, all the poskim that I looked at, everyone says it's asur, right? You want to set a trap on Shabbat for mice. You have a mouse problem, and you want to set a trap in the house to catch the mouse, or you want to put rat poison. The mouse will eat it and die. Is one allowed to do that on Shabbat or not? It's interesting because what it entails is really you're not doing anything. You're not trapping the animal. You're not chasing the animal down. You're not hunting the animal. You're just placing this thing on the ground. When Mr. Mouse decides to come and get trapped, no, he got trapped. So it's grama. You're causing it. You're causing this to be trapped. A mouse is also not beminot tzad. It's not an animal that's usually caught. You don't hear, oh yeah, this person is a mouse catcher. He's he's a collection of mice. You don't hear that. So it's not something that's beminot tzad, and it's also not really tzad. You're not really chasing after it. It just walks right into the trap. But everyone, brings down Sefer Menuchat Hava says it's asur. Many, Sefer Rav Zaka brings also that, of course he's quoting from others. Rav Adi says it's fine. So a person could go ahead and set a trap for a mouse, put it down, with everything, and to do it, but just don't do it while the mouse is right there and say, here, come kitty, you go get close to the mouse and come to the trap and boom, catch it. No, that would certainly be asur, right? But if it's grama, if it's just it's gorem, it just catches it, that is okay to do.
How about for ants? Are you allowed to put, let's say you have the liquid poison out on the floor, you see where their trail is, and so you're allowed to put it right next to it so they can eat it?
It seems, from what I gathered, this you could put, but not near them. Right? You could put somewhere else that they're not in that vicinity. That's fine. There is a question if a person is allowed to spray, like the roach killer or ant killer. Some poskim achronim they say yes you could. Some say you can't. But it says if there is a window open that you are giving them an opportunity to be able to run away, then you could do it, and do not spray it on them so you're killing them directly. You're just spraying it out somewhere in the air so that they'll hate the smell and they just go away through the open window. That's fine. So the same thing would probably apply to the ants as well. You can't put it near them, right in front of them, that they should eat it and die. But on the other hand, you could put it somewhere else that it could be could take care of the business.
Usually you do these things on, let's say, Sunday.
On Shabbat you don't do it, right? But let's say sometimes it happens. Suddenly you see, oh my gosh, there's so many ants, and you have little kids around. They're gonna go and go kill them or play with them. It's problematic.
Hot summer days when you leave dishes out. But
True. Well, don't leave dishes out, right? That's right. Now, that was as far as these things. Now, the next segment would be birds, right? A person, let's see, find a more applicable case. You leave your window open and then you see a bird comes in. What do you do, right? It is asur to close the window, right, on Shabbat. When the bird comes into your house, when you close the window, now you've trapped it. It's simple as that. This is
Why would
trap.
you close the window? You want it to get out.
Because you want the bird. It's a beautiful little bird and you want to catch it. right? If your intention is to catch it, or if you're scared of it, then of course you're not going to open the window unless you're cold, right? Unless you're cold, or the AC is on, and you don't want the cold air to go out. In that case, your intention is completely to close the window for that purpose. Then you are allowed to close the window because your intention is not at all to hunt it, to trap it, right? It's just because it's cold, or and so on and so forth. It becomes a pasik reshe. It's going to happen. It's going to get trapped, but it's a pasik reshe shelo ichpat lo. He doesn't care about it, and it's derabanan. Why? Because it's still not so easy to catch it, right? If it would be easy to catch it, now it's a confined. You're living in a tiny matchbox. You can catch it easily. Then fine. Then that would be a problem. But here, let's say fine, chazak baruch, you caught it in the room. Now you close the window. You still can't catch it. Chase around it all day. You'll not be able to catch it. So therefore, it would be mutar. Again, if your intention is not for trapping the bird, but your intention is only for because it's cold or other reasons. If a person closed the window and then he realized that there's a nice little parrot in this room, I wonder where that came from, and now you had no clue that this thing was there. You don't have to open the window and then shoo it out. I don't want to be over the isur of tzad. It's fine, because you didn't know, therefore it's not as if he did a melacha at all in this case. If a person, now, there's a lot of halachot as far as fish tanks. A lot of them really pertain to halachot of muktzeh, but we'll touch on some. If a person has he wants to move his fish to a different location. Let's say the fish is in a big pond, and he wants to move it into a small pond, smaller container. That's tzad. That's asur, right? If you move it from a bigger container to a small container, that's already tzad. You've already trapped the fish. Now, this happens a lot. Person sees suddenly that his aquarium is very dirty. His fish tank is very dirty. He wants to change the water, right? Otherwise, his fish is going to die. Now, what does he do? He catches the fish and he puts it in a bowl, right? This is a problem.
So what about if it's a bigger bowl?
Oh, then it's not tzad. Then in the interim, in the meantime, it looks like it's a problem that he's catching it in a cup to put it in there. That's tzad. He caught it. So what he does is he empties out some of the water, adds good water, and then empties out until it becomes clean. And there's a halacha also. If you find one of the fish is dead, are you allowed to take it out? This is not tzad anymore.
Bad from good.
Oh no, it's not borera. Of course not. It's not mixed. It could be muktzeh, but the problem is that it's going to kill the other fish, right? It's gonna kill the other fish. So in that case, if you want to move it, you could move it. But that's already, we're moving to a different halacha. I wanted to keep it in tzad, but then once we're talking about fish, poor little fish, these things do happen.
If it jumps out of the tank, let's say, can you catch it and put it back in the water? Catching it again.
That's not tzad. You're not trapping it.
You're saving it.
Yeah. You're not trapping it at all. Your intention is not for trapping it. You're just putting it back into its habitat. No, it's fine.
But for that moment, you are catching it.
Yeah, it's not called catching though. It's not how you catch it. You catch it, to take it out and eat it. But here you're not. So that's fine. Their intention is not to catch it. It's fine. Now, the insects, right, that they don't bother anyone, like our example of ants, right? An ant doesn't bother anyone, doesn't do anything. Is one allowed to step on it on Shabbat as you're walking? Halacha is that it's asur to step on an ant. We talked about insects that bother a person, that could hurt a person, that you could kill on Shabbat. But we're talking about an insect it's an ant. It's walking. So the person must be careful in places where there's a lot of ants, where the person is stepping on Shabbat, right? Even though he's not intending on killing them, he doesn't want to do that. But still, this I'm not. We're a little bit out of the melacha of tzad because we're talking about insects. Poskim talked about it. So even though his intention, because the next melacha is going to be shechita, so we're almost moving there. So a person is, even though his intention is not to kill these insects, still he should be careful not to step on them in this area. If there is no other way, you want to go to shul, and the only path that you could go is through these poor things. So in that case, a person is allowed to go ahead and step on them, right? Just try to kill as little as possible. Now, the melacha of the next melacha that we have. Wow, we're going through 4 different melachot, right? Tofer, no, 3. Tofer, tzad, and bezat shem shechita. So the next melacha is hariga, netilat neshama, is called taking away life. As we know, as a continuation of the thing. By the way, just going back on the thing, we said we were mentioning different animals that the melacha of tzad is not by them. Just want to point out, one of the examples is a ram. And really, where do we learn the melacha of tzad from? Is the elim me'odamim. These rams that are red skinned. So if the whole melacha is learned from the ram, and the ram is a homey animal, is usually not hunted down, is usually not trapped. You don't need to be trapped. So how do you learn it? That's a question that the Mefarshim ask, Poskim ask. And they give an answer. Rabbi also gives an answer, and he says that later I found that others also give this answer, that over there in the Torah, where Elim Udamim is talked about, that's here in the desert. And these are desert rams. They're usually wild, and you do have to catch them. You do have to hunt them down, and that's where the melacha of tzad is by them. But in a normal case, a ram is like a cow, like an ox, like a sheep. They're not hunted, and just that was a side point. Now, these animals they had to do shechita, right? So shechita is part of the melachot of the Mishkan. Netilat neshama is part of it, and therefore it is asur on Shabbat as one of the 39 melachot to go ahead and take the neshama of any living creature. Doesn't make a difference if it's a mosquito or a camel, right? The Gemara says, "Hahoreg zevuv kehoreg gamal." If you kill a mosquito is like it's the same thing as killing a camel. It's easier, but it's anyways. So a person has to be very careful. Not to think, oh yeah, this is a tiny thing, big deal. It's still asur to go ahead and do it. However, as we said, if one wants to spray the raid or whatever it is, whatever brand that works to do it, do not spray it onto them, but you can spray it into the air and definitely